The question I'm about to ask you changed my life. It helped me let go of some things that I had been holding on to for most of my 62 years. Every time I ask my clients this question, it has the same impact on them. What if you woke up tomorrow and couldn't remember anything of your past? None of the hurts, the mistakes, the failures that you'd had? Who would you create yourself to be? How would your life be different without all of that past? Today I'm sharing 9 lessons that this question has helped me learn. Things I was finally able to let go of. Things that have made my life so much easier and more carefree, and I hope they'll help you do the same. This question is important because studies show that most of us make decisions for today based on fear, pain, or stories from our past. I definitely did. I people-pleased my way through life, and that was based on stories and pain and hurt that I felt from the past. So this question for me changed my perspective on so many things. It changed the lens through which I saw the world. I've used this analogy in other videos. I wear glasses, right? So when I take off my glasses and look at you, I see you differently. But does that make you different? No, it's just that I've changed the way I see you because of my glasses. I've taken off the lens. The first thing that I had a really hard time letting go of in the past before I was asked this question was thinking that I couldn't change my mind. I had this fear of what people would think if I changed my mind. For instance, before my first marriage, I had the fear that what would people think if I changed my mind about getting married? And I didn't change my mind, and I went ahead and got married. And then there was the fear about getting divorced. I never wanted to be divorced. So I clung to this fear, this thought that it was wrong, that I would be wrong if I changed my mind about something. And there was a lot of shame around me thinking about changing my mind on something that I had done. And I recognize now that this shame is a story that was given to me. So it was a story from past things that I was told as a young child, right? We assume things and we think that people are telling us facts. So that is lesson number 2, is that stories are not facts. The things that we believed about ourselves, that we were told about ourselves, stories that we held onto because we thought they were truth. We thought why would our caretakers tell us something that wasn't true? And so that is lesson number 2, is that stories are not facts. They're just stories from the past. And that leads me to lesson number 3. One of the things that I took on when I was young, a story that I learned about myself, was that my emotions were wrong. And so I saw my emotions as something bad, especially sad emotions. If it wasn't happy, upbeat, and that there was a tone of sadness or disappointment or something being wrong, I was taught that those emotions were wrong. And I learned to hate that about myself, that I would be emotional when I was young, because it always seemed to lead to being rejected or pushed away from or embarrassing other people. And so I just learned or thought that my emotions were wrong. But the lesson I got from that question is that something that I disliked about myself, again, it was just a story that I took on. Actually, something that I disliked could actually be one of my greatest gifts. My emotions now, I recognize, allow me to show vulnerability. And when I can be authentic and show my vulnerable self, it frees up other people to do the same. It makes them feel safe to share their emotions, what they're feeling, what they're going through, knowing that in my presence, in particular, they will not be shamed for that. They will not be wronged for that. And I realized without our vulnerability, we can't live our best lives. When we're constantly wearing a mask, we cannot possibly live a fulfilling, fun, carefree life because we're always wanting or feeling like we need to hide something. And also, without this authenticity of being able to show your emotions, whether they're happy or sad or angry or upset, it doesn't matter. But without that, another person cannot get to know the real you. Lesson number 4, and the thing that I was able to let go of, is that we teach other people how to treat us. And so when we show up inauthentically, or not respecting ourselves, or not accepting ourselves fully for who we are, in the past, I still expected people to respect me and accept me. But because I wasn't doing that for myself, I learned that I cannot begin to expect that from other people, because we teach people how to treat us. And again, if I'm treating myself with less than respect, less than love, hiding my gifts and what I'm all about in this world, then that is how people are going to show up for me. I hear coyotes. Oh my goodness. Listen to the coyotes. Wow. This next lesson has impacted my life in a huge way. When I was able to see this and change my perspective on this, it has changed a lot for me. 4 years ago, my mom got COVID and was hospitalized. She was in and out of the hospital 4 times over the next 3 months due to complications that came from her being hospitalized the first time. This was one of the most trying times of my life. And there were times that I felt like she wasn't getting the care or attention that a 90-plus-year-old woman needed trying to recover from this. And I would get really frustrated and angry inside that she wasn't getting the attention that I thought and felt that she deserved. So at the time, I was studying A Course in Miracles. And in the Course in Miracles, one of the lessons is, I am willing to see things differently. When I read that lesson that day, partway through my mom's 3-month stay in the hospital, there was a sudden shift in me that I was clinging to things that I thought they should be doing based on past and based on hurt and pain and fear, right? But when I started telling myself I'm willing to see things differently, I started showing up differently. And guess what? Everybody's energy started shifting, not because I said anything to them, just because I was showing up differently. I was looking at things in a new way, with a new set of glasses, basically. And once my energy shifted around this, everything shifted. Wayne Dyer said, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. It can't be any other way. It's a law of the universe that when my energy changes, the energy around me and outside of me also shifts. So that was the lesson, to start telling myself in situations that were less than ideal, I am willing to see things differently. What am I not seeing that the other person is going through? Or just what am I not seeing in this? And once I reframed the way I saw things, the way I looked at things, the things started shifting. Which leads me to the next lesson, and that is seeking for answers outside of yourself. I used to do this. I would ask people for their opinions, for their thoughts on things, thinking that I didn't have the answers already within me. And we have all the answers we already need within us. But because we go to the past again and we let the fear and the pain of the past, we think that maybe there's a different a different answer, but if we just get silent and listen, the answers will come. Something I did based on the pain and fear of the past repeating itself was I would cling to acceptance and approval from other people. I would seek that, and if I didn't get it and they ended it with me, whether it was a relationship or a job, I would seek closure from them. And I learned through this question that it wasn't the closure that I was seeking. It was actually the validation that I had done everything I could for the relationship, for the job, that they did value me, that it wasn't me, it was them. And I realized that that was just hurting me and holding me back from being able to move forward in life, because so many times, most of the time, right, we're not getting the closure that we think we need. We think we want the validation. So I was able, once I saw it for what it was, I was able to let go of that needing closure and just move on. If someone was ready to move on from a relationship with me, again, whether it was an intimate partner, a friendship, a job, if they were ready to move on, then it wasn't about me. It was just that they were ready to move on to a new part in their life. And so needing that closure just became a thing that was no longer necessary in my life. So letting go of that has been so freeing for me. Number 8 thing that I was able to let go of is, there's a saying that we are the sum of our learned experiences. And so we end up holding on to things that no longer serve us because they get stored in the subconscious, and we just become that. We think that we are our past. And what are the experiences you most hold on to from your past? They're the negative ones, right? If I asked you to go back and look at your past, it would be the pain, the fear, all of that that comes up. It wouldn't be the positive things that you bring up. So a way to look at this is, if you're driving down the road, you see the white lines go by, right? Do you hold on to them? Do you think, oh my gosh, I can't let that white line go by? Or clouds in the sky? Why don't we hold on to those? Because they don't matter to us. So we tend to hold on to negative experiences and we store them inside. And if that experience was a mess, then we become a mess because we have it stored inside of us. And I have a saying, staying in the story of my wounds keeps me wounded. When I stay in those stories, when I hold on to that, instead of letting them pass by, like the white lines on the road or the clouds in the sky, then those past experiences become who I am. So I was able to let that go and stop dwelling on the experiences that I had, because it's not about the experiences, it's about the meaning that I give to the experiences. Do you do this? Have you given meaning to experiences in your life? And because of the meaning you've given it, it ends up being something that is a negative mess in your life. And the 9th lesson that I learned is that suffering comes from focusing on wanting what you don't have, and or focusing on having what you don't want. One is based in lack and the other is based in desire, but either cause suffering. And I'm basically craving something that isn't. And anytime we want something that isn't reality, we are going to suffer, because it causes frustration in trying to change it, in dwelling on, in focusing on needing it to be different in order for me to be okay. So when we resist something, it grows. There's no alternative. Think of a water hose. If you kinked up a water hose and then you started up the water, the pressure gets really high. That's the resistance. And the same thing happens to us when we resist. Think about stepping on a scale, and if you're trying to lose weight and the scale hasn't budged, or maybe it's even gone up a little bit, what happens? You end up focusing on what you don't have, less weight, and having what you don't want, added weight. You're not focused on the feeling or outcome, and this becomes a vicious cycle of just staying frustrated and suffering because things aren't the way that we need them to be or want them to be. So what if you woke up tomorrow and couldn't remember anything of your past, your hurts, your mistakes, your failures? Who would you create yourself to be? And how would your life be different? I'd love to hear your comments about the 9 lessons that I learned and that I was able to let go of.